notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed. Bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. But welcome back, everyone. It's September, right? Everybody's back in school? Okay. There is a presentation regarding the holiday of Onam, the proclamation. Councilman Menon, would you like to read that?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
And start off with, just wanted to wish a happy Onam to everybody here, all of Tenafly. Onam is an annual 10-day harvest festival holiday and is celebrated by people from the South Indian state of Kerala and the worldwide Malayali diaspora. Malayali meaning people who speak Malayalam from the state of Kerala. Whereas Onam is a holiday with its origins in Hindu lore, but celebrated as a cultural festival throughout Kerala and globally among Malayalis, irrespective of social group or religion. Whereas Onam takes place at the beginning of the month of Chingam, the first month of the Malayalam solar calendar, which falls in the Gregorian calendar months of August or September of each year, of every year. Whereas the story of Onam is meant to commemorate King Mahabali, the legendary king of Kerala, whose spirit is said to return annually to visit his people, to see them exchanging gifts and wearing new clothing, placing elaborate floral rangolis called pukalams at the entrances of their homes, enjoying the extensive vegetarian feast or Anna Sadhya, and engaging in many other positive social activities throughout the period. Whereas the most important day of Onam, known as Thiruvanam, meaning Sacred Onam Day, occurs on the 10th day, which in the 2002 calendar year falls on the 8th day of September. Mahabali makes his appearance. Whereas over 600,000 people from the state of Kerala have migrated to the United States, and a significant number of the approximately 500 Tenafly residents and over 30,000 Bergen County residents of Asian Indian background similarly have their families Onam annually. Now, therefore, the Borough of Tenafly Mayor and Council does hereby recognize the holiday of Onam and wishes all people from Kerala, along with all of the people in the Borough of Tenafly, a happy Onam.
Thank you, Vanu. Thank you. Okay, second item, I'd just like to interject a comment here that's not on the agenda. I'd like to acknowledge our police department, the fire department, and TVAC. On September 2nd, there was a terrible accident up at the Palisade Interstate Parkway. There were, I believe, 4 fatalities and about 10 people injured. And I mean, the police and the fire and TVAC were actually in the woods trying to find people and rendering aid and getting them out of there and trying to save as many lives as they could. So hats off to all our emergency services personnel who are out there in the middle of the night risking their own lives to help other people. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and everyone to hear it.
Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I also just thank our police today? We're patrolling all of our schools.
Great.
And it was a wonderful start of our first year with them, saying good morning to our families, and it was a nice presence. So
Good, good. Nice start.
Yes.
Okay, first item on the agenda is an Eagle Scout project. We're going to hear about the garden bed frame and fencing from Zayden. Come on up, Zayden. How are you today? Okay, come up to the microphone, just right there. Take your time, there's no rush. And just give us your name.
Everyone, my name is Zayden Lee. I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 86 in Tenafly, New Jersey. I'm here to review my Eagle Scout project for full borough approval. So my Eagle Scout project will be in the Tenafly Community Garden outside Borough Hall. There will be 3 parts to my project. The first part will be building a new garden bed. So a few years ago, there used to be beehives in the community garden, but the plot has since been removed and overgrown with weeds. So first part of my project would to build a new garden bed. I made sort of a drawing here of it. And we would so we actually made a new design for the garden bed, which is instead of having one long frame, which makes it hard for people to like reach in the center to reach to their garden frames. We have two detached frames, which will make the community garden making it easier for people to bend down and access their plants. The second part will be the repair of two of the frames in the west garden. I have pictures over here. So the west garden is old and its beds have been more weathered and two of the boards have rotted away on the very ends of the garden. So the next part of my project would be to remove the old boards and replace them with new ones. And the third part of the project would be the installation of groundhog return measurements for the groundhog return. The garden has had a problem with a groundhog recently. So part of my project would be to to add like wire underneath the fence so the groundhog can't bury under, and to distribute it to give out gardeners information about natural remedies to deter groundhogs. In terms of funding the project, I contacted local businesses, Value in Tenafly, the Lowe's in Paramus, and the Home Depot in Hackensack. The Benjamin brothers said they would give me $100 credit for my project, and the Home Depot said they would help contribute with the project. I'll also visit the Bent Keys Building Supply in Burkefield because fellow Boy Scouts have told me they are supportive to this guy. That's all for my project proposal. Thanks for taking the time to.
Wait, don't go anywhere quite yet. So for first on your shirt, what's the blue one? Yeah,
This is for Camp Novi Bosco.
that's Novi Bosco also. Very nice. I used to go to Novi Bosco when I was your age. I wish I was your age going to Novi Bosco again, trust me. So have you been talking to the community garden people about this also?
Yes, I've been in close contact with someone from the Tenafly Community Garden.
And what do they have to say? Oh, I know. Well, he's doing the presentation right now. Go ahead. So apparently they support you, I would imagine.
Yes, I've already met with them, and they said that they would be okay if I was like working in the garden.
Case today.
All I need the borough's approval to work in the Tenafly Community Garden since it's on borough property.
Council members have questions? Yes, please. Councilwoman Dayton.
I love this project. I think it's fantastic. I was sad that the bees came and went, but we'll still investigate that as we go forward. I do have a question. I love that you're doing groundhog precautions, but are you going to be putting up anything taller for deer?
There's a already existing fence at
Around the whole plot, right?
around all the plots.
Okay.
My
I'm
interest,
not sure it keeps the, it's pretty low.
Okay, so Julie, then Banu,
oh,
please.
yeah, I just wanted to say, I believe, because I go to the meetings as well, that this would help because we always have a waiting list, right, for people who want community garden beds. So this would serve that purpose, right?
Banu, please.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I'm just a little, not concerned, but I'm just questioning if if the community garden is moved from its present location at some point. Would this be able to be moved along with it?
All the garden beds like the existing garden bed in the community garden are all like raised wooden beds.
Mhm.
And what I'm going to be constructing is a wooden frame that gardeners to put soil in. So if they wanted to, they could like they could move.
And so the whole thing is like one unit and you could just lift up the entire thing.
Does anyone from the club, any one person like to come up and say something? Just if you could be so kind to go to the microphone. Yes.
47-year resident of Tenafly Public Schools, and I'm still here. And, sort of the leader of the working committee of the membership of the community garden, which was started in 2016. So Dayton has come along at a very opportune time. The west part of the garden is pretty much falling apart. He's going to hopefully address it partially. Some of our gardeners have been working on conditions. And what his initial project was put new raised beds in that area where the beehives were, so that we can call more people on our wait lists and invite them to join the garden. What's the other thing? Oh, for the groundhog. Okay, well, just the groundhogs, we have the usual rabbits, chipmunks, which I have also in my own home garden, and birds. So, but the groundhogs are the worst. And the groundhog, I believe, has been a resident right outside these chambers. They're over there, outside the building office. And we're told by the DPW that something was going to be done about it, but nothing has. So we're hoping that with Zayden and his other scouts helping him along, and hopefully some of us working with him in our free labor, hopefully we can go down where the fence line is, go down as many inches as Zayden chooses to take on. I think one of your concerns, and it's for me, is the funding. He's taking on a really big project. And we don't know exactly what it's going to cost, but I've seen the funds that I'm going to ask. We, the gardeners, don't have any funds. We don't have a budget.
Sounds like he's getting sponsorship from either Home Depot, Benjamin Brothers.
Right, well, hopefully he can secure the materials.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, we'll be passing the hat again. Which we could do. So, without taking away his thunder, I just want to say that he was like a gift.
Okay.
Somewhere special. Thank you, Councilman Park. I think you found it. Please approve him so we can get going. Thank you.
Yes, Jeff, please.
First of all, thank you. Great idea. I'm not good at dealing with groundhogs lately. They're everywhere. My question is, they go pretty deep in the burrow. Does it make sense to have some sort of a wire mesh below the soil? No, not vertical. Oh, it's horizontal all the way across? No, that's
They have a horizontal wire under the garden.
wire going across
Horizontally underneath the bed.
so that it actually is covering the entire. Okay, I'm using this for my own edification, but I know what to do. But I appreciate it, because I've been using ammonia, which actually does work. You put a little bit near their hole and they go away, but I don't know how long that works for. Anyway, excellent, excellent, thank you.
Any council members in support of this? Any questions? We're good? Jimmy, do you have questions?
No questions. I just wanted to thank Zayden because he came with a fully prepared project, working closely with the community garden and also Councilman Park. So thank you. Looking forward to continuing pending approval.
Okay, so thank you, Councilman Park. Zayden, great job. So you've got your approval. If you could communicate with Jimmy Holmes, continue to communicate with Jimmy Homsey, our administrator, and best of luck with all of it.
Thank you.
All right? All right, take care. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Women's Suffrage Museum.
That's me.
Go ahead, Lauren, please.
So we are so lucky in this day and age that we have the opportunity for both federal and state grants to acknowledge the women's rights movement. And I want to get a project going. We have two things that I want to discuss. The first, and this goes back to the Historic Preservation Committee and Jeff, is the dedication of our train station. We had a 19th Amendment group going on right as COVID hit, to celebrate the 100 years of women's suffrage, and it got disbanded, but a couple women reached out to me. And so I want to do a fall event on behalf of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and they'd like to bring it to the HPC for help, to dedicate our train station as officially the Elizabeth Cady Stanton train station. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I am still hopeful active museum within our borders. If you think of Seneca Falls gets millions of residents. They actually have Elizabeth Cady Stanton highlighted up there with Susan B. Anthony. But again, all of that work was done here in Tenafly at the Elizabeth Cady Stanton House, at our train station. All of these suffragettes would come from our train station to Pennsylvania and New York and Connecticut and other surrounding states, spreading the word for women's rights. So I do want to put us on the map as something historical here within our community. I've reached out to our congressman, I've reached out to our county commissioners. There is a high school student helping me research some concepts. What I need help with before I present this, and Karen Noose has been involved in some of these conversations with the high school student, is I need a commitment before we put together a presentation and talk to anybody beyond this table at a state or federal level that this is something this council wants to work on.
Okay, so I have questions. The council members want to go first with some questions or no? Okay, so
Yeah.
how do you, I guess there's a lot of chicken and egg questions here,
Yes, there
right?
is.
So you don't, how do you envision, where would the museum be? Train station, but that's
That's a
separate
separate,
from where the museum would be. So how do you, what are your thoughts?
I would like a physical structure.
Right.
You know, if we redo anything here, Borough Hall, that would have made the most sense. But I don't think that's the case. I had pitched the building that's connected to the municipal field, but that was sold. The historic one is rented. I would have loved to have one of the homes near the Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I'm not sure if anyone knows this. There's actually tunnels that go from other homes around the Elizabeth Cady Stanton house underneath the ground to the Elizabeth Cady Stanton house, where suffragettes used to go back and forth in the winters. But that was sold. So I do need a physical place. And then from there, if we decide to do this, we are eligible for historical grants, for state funding, for federal funding. We could be, New Jersey wants to actually celebrate its history. And, you know, when I speak to people about this, obviously, you know, hotbed issue, women's rights right now, but more importantly, I don't think people are knowledgeable how much actually took place within our borders. And so I really do want to have the history, and all of our residents who are here, some of them are beyond knowledgeable, that have been through our HBC, that were our past historians. I'd hate to lose that knowledge.
So it sounds like you've already got a group of individual residents who are involved in this conversation.
Well, people are interested. They reached out. I would like to actually pair up with the Historical Preservation Committee, because I don't think it makes any sense to do this without that group.
Well, yeah.
And I think, you know, you would agree. So I would not want to do this without approval from that committee first. But again, it also has to be a commitment that if there's a piece of property that makes sense, we as the council invest and open something.
So in terms of just going through the process, would the Historical Preservation Committee, you and them come up with a concept of what you think? Because I mean, it's a great idea, at least in my mind. But in other words, it's hard to say, yes, there's a commitment unless council disagrees with me until there's some math behind it, right? So perhaps we need to get some preliminary work conversations done so we have a sense of what the magnitude would be. Is it $100 million project or is it a $500,000 project, right? And then it becomes more real, more possible, right? I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, an ideal concept might be to pair it with something like a building for the nature center with an outpost of a museum. So it's educational and environment, it's educational and history. It becomes an educational center, something along those lines. Again, or to be considered
Yeah.
concept.
So
I
don't
know
think
there's
that
some
unless
residents
she really
interested.
turns it around,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
unless
Is
there's
it
a,
possible that Councilwoman Dayton's kind of asking if we should create an ad hoc committee and then maybe that could go with it, right?
Well,
Would that
the
be
council,
the thing
you know,
on the table?
I'm not sure if we want to add another committee or historic preservation is probably,
Okay.
yeah. Jeff, Councilman Grossman?
Yeah, this Thursday, the HPC has its next meeting. I will talk with them about it. Certainly, if you want to come, join in the fun discussion. I think there's a number of issues that need to be flushed out before we can go forward. Personally, I think it's a great idea. So, obviously, place, cost, but also how to distinguish ourselves from the National Women's History Museum in Seneca Falls, which is part of the National Park Service. Promote a certain way, and then South Jersey, you have the Alice Paul Institute and Museum, and Historic Place. So we need to kind of figure out what would make us different, and discussion about making it something with either ecological, although that's a odd fit, but I mean, there would have to be something. So I will definitely raise on Thursday, and we will pursue that. I also want to keep in mind, so we're talking about the dedication of the train station with the new name, which is important. And then also in another, 2022, in another 3 years or so, we reach the 100th anniversary of the Roosevelt Monument, which kind of goes in another direction when it comes to political, well, they're both politically, well, actually, both had political correctness issues, but that's okay. That's separate.
Any other comments from council members?
So can I just actually follow up on something Jeff said? So one of the reasons why I was looking towards the Tenafly Nature Center is because every other women's rights movement that I've visited so far, I've been to Alice Paul, I've been to Seneca Falls, actually is connected with Parks Department and is run by the state through a Parks Department. The catch is that we actually have one of the only private nature centers in the state. So it actually, it's not, is hopefully to have something like the state assist us. And they are willing, at least in initial conversations, to fund or give grants or assist the creation of and put us on the map.
Okay, so 3 takeaways. I'm not hearing any no's. I'm hearing, let's get more information. And the HBC is kind of the initial lead to kind of see where we go.
I do think instead of a subcommittee, I
Yeah.
would prefer the HBC. They're designed for this exact purpose. Julie, is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
I'm the
Thank you,
next
Bob.
one too.
Okay, next on the agenda, cosmetology business ordinance. This was you, Lauren, correct?
This is, so, I'm actually gonna say we're gonna push this. Julie and I received an email back from our health inspector, Ruby Farah. And so there are some open questions here. I initially had drafted this with Ruby, like I said, 3 years ago before the pandemic. The concept is that our health inspector may not go into anything that's not a restaurant or food service establishment. So she can't go into a nail salon, a beauty salon, a
By
general,
state law or local ordinance?
just local ordinance.
Okay.
By local ordinance.
I'm not sure that's correct.
She can only go in if code enforcement can go into those places.
Well, those types of establishments still are required to be licensed under our borough code.
They're required to be licensed by the state and under a borough code, but there's not an inspection for health. Let's say there's mold, bugs, water issues. The only option right now is to call code enforcement. So there's sort of an interplay and there's a gap between what code enforcement can do and what our health inspector can do. So our health inspector brought this up to me saying, let's fill the gap, give me the authority to check if someone reports, a roach in a place or a water damage, God forbid. Let's hope our businesses aren't under that, but she wanted. But when we reached out to her this month, she wrote back and said something a little bit different. So I sort of held off until I could speak with Councilwoman O'Connor. So I'm gonna take this off. I actually would like to request Jimmy to set up a meeting maybe with Ruby and Julie, if you want to be involved as Board of Health.
Okay, so we'll take that off, more to come. Okay, the humane, next item is the humane pet store ordinance. Was this you, Councilwoman?
It's me.
Well, that's,
Oh, no,
Did you put it on as well?
I did.
Both of us did. That's funny. Julie, it's all you.
Funny.
okay, so who wants to take the lead on this?
We'll give it to Julie. No?
Yeah, so we had been approached by the adopt a humane pet store ordinance. And just to tell the public, fortunately, Tenafly currently does not have any puppy selling pet stores. So now's the ideal time to enact a preventative humane pet store ordinance. 134 New Jersey municipalities have enacted because there's a unique animal welfare and also consumer protection interest in banning these type of pet stores. So just to tell you briefly that puppy selling pet store, many times they get their puppies from puppy mills, and that's, well documented. They're in Pennsylvania, but many from the Midwest. And these are large scale, inhumane, commercial breeding operations with terrible animal welfare records. And the puppies are taken from the moms. They just breed and breed and breed until they die. And the puppies are taken at 8 weeks old and shipped on trains across, and they come, very sick. So it's very bleak for the animals themselves. And then additionally, there's all these misleading sales tactics and sick puppies. So people will come home with a nice little puppy and then find out they're spending thousands of dollars in veterinary bills because the animal is sick. So these are issues with puppies. For the council's support on a humane pet store ordinance as a preventative measure. In our records, you'll see that Omar had linked Hackensack as an example. But like I said, there's 134 New Jersey municipalities. Also, for everyone's knowledge, the reason that this was New York has passed through their state representation puppy mill banning for the puppy pet store selling ban. It's currently on Governor Hochul's desk, and the worry is that if the law gets enacted there, it's been enacted in some other states, but if it gets enacted in New York, the thought was that maybe these industries would regroup and come over to New Jersey so that it's like a preventative measure. So that's why and I guess Councilwoman Dayton also put it on the agenda. So,
Pet store like this?
Yeah, sure.
In town, but they don't.
Yeah, we used to have a pet store that sold pets downtown. On the other side of the street,
retail,
its own for it, sure.
just retail and sells the, materials for.
Benu, go ahead.
Sorry.
to volunteer organization, so.
Right, I'm glad you asked the question. So if we were to get a pet store in town that only offered rescue animals, as you might have seen when you've traveled, sometimes there's some pet stores like that where they just showcase rescue animals. This would, I think that would be fantastic.
Council questions, comments? Lauren?
It's an important issue. I will say I got my dog in one of the surrounding towns at a pet store and backtracked and found the right information, even though they claim not a puppy mill, not anything. I mean, there's just no way. So I feel very strongly that we should put this in place. It's an easy ordinance to understand. For anyone coming in and trying to sell live animals, it's a good guideline as well.
Jeff, Dan, comments? Over here, everyone's in favor of it? Okay. Just for the next meeting, we can introduce an ordinance.
Yeah, just for my clarification, because I have seen different versions, I've written different versions, I've been through it, there was a whole push, probably about 2017, I think is when the towns that have it now originally started. Looking for Tenafly to not allow the sale of and or not including fish, right? Or is there?
So why don't I forward you their guidelines, but
I'd like to know what the council.
the council,
Because obviously, it can be doctored to reflect whatever it is that this community would like to see. I do recommend that it not try to define puppy mill is or is in how to define it. The state does have statutory guidelines for responsible pet sales.
okay.
But because of this need for clarification and definition of what a puppy mill actually is, that is where I think that the towns are passing so easy to tell if you're coming from.
So if we were going to ban the sale, then what about, to Councilman Menon's point, if there was like a rescue or situation, would that be allowed?
There's carve
Carve-outs,
Yes.
okay,
Because they're technically they're adoptions, they're not sales.
right. Okay, well, I would be comfortable if that was the umbrella that would catch all of the possible issues, but I don't hear from the rest of the
The rest of
council.
the council okay with that?
I'm fine to sell fish.
Fine, selfish.
You know,
Hamsters?
just to be efficient with everyone's time, and I know Wendy's pretty busy. You know, let's start with the premise with stealing with pride. Like, I don't want to write a Tenafly one. And literally photocopy.
There's one here.
Yes.
Like, it's a 6-minute piece of work just to change, copy and paste and sometimes. So,
If that's the one that you're all comfortable with, then that's the direction I need.
yeah.
I was fine with that. That's why I put it on.
No,
Yeah,
it's okay.
it's
It's be more efficient with everyone.
Councilman Menon, please.
The only thing, about fish, there are things like exotic fish and, some unusual
Yes.
fish practices. If that's as cut and dry as.
We actually have a new
Sorry, Stop and Shop.
near the middle school that sells fish, sold
Right.
fish, exotic fish and everything. So let's try not to put our local
That
businesses on the
doesn't
business.
fall, that person, that business. will.
As long as you're out there.
Let's allow the sale of fish.
But
Sounds like we should allow.
that, if there's something within that as well, that we may want to consider something with the kind of fish that are being sold.
It's literally an exotic fish store. Well, we got,
No, but
Maybe
it's-
most fish are
Let's not try to get up as, if there's information, then we need to.
someone line what they sell.
Right, it counts. Some additional information out of another species, then send that in, and then we can deal with it at the next meeting.
That's a really good point, Councilman Menon.
I'm assuming I'm getting clarity at the next council meeting.
Right, but we started. Okay. All right, next item E, indemnification of employees and public officials. Ordinance, Wendy, you want to talk about this?
Yes, so at some point in the not too distant past, it came to my attention at least, that although the council statutory authority to provide for defense and indemnification of borough officials or suits, it's not codified in your code book, and so it's kind of a housekeeping item that we wanted to have it codified, that, so there's no question about it, because a former governing body member was deposed, and we had to say if the statutory provisions are active here as well.
Questions from council?
I did have a question on this when I read it. Does this need the consent and approval of council per time, or do you want it just a blanket policy that it automatically applies?
So their litigation is very time sensitive at a certain time. The last meeting was called, but what I was suggesting, it still needs to perhaps be brought to the council for ratification. However, depending on time constraints is whether or not it would come to you first, but absent one of the exceptions, et cetera, you would be providing the ability for council, yes.
So I would like to add in that it does get ratified by council in writing.
Okay.
So just that it doesn't, we know what's coming out of our little defense fund financially and so forth.
Any other questions from council members? Yes, Jeff, please.
So having defended New York City for so many years and having to make decisions about defending employees, I know how we went about doing that. How do you envision that decision be made? Usually it's pretty straightforward. It's a no-brainer. You're going to defend and indemnify the employee, but there are those situations and I'm not clear after reading this what the exact procedure for that is.
So that would be dependent on what is claimed in the complaint. So long as it's within the job function, which is what you're covered for, right? So it's providing opportunity as well for independent counsel if necessary. Let's say, for whatever reason, all the counsel is named in a lawsuit. Each one of you may not have the same interest. This would be able to allow for representation, things of that nature. But generally speaking, you're covering.
All right, so you would,
Do you want that written down?
Any other questions from council members?
does that,
Sorry, what,
Oh, no, please, Cynthia, sorry.
does this, would this also apply to council members and employees who are no longer with the borough?
If it was a result of their job duties when they
During-
were, then yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Be included or?
No, that isn't.
Oh.
That isn't. No, because situation that was a former, so yes.
You have clarity?
Yeah.
Introduce the next thing.
Yes.
Okay, Jimmy, can we be appropriate?
Yeah, so I'm happy to take any questions. There is a supplement that I requested to be included. So it might be new for most or not everyone on there. This is the senior bus usage report. I thought it was important just to see the, month to month, the things there. And if there's no, and I'm happy to take any questions, but also, yeah.
So I want to make council aware, we had applied for a senior services grant for a new bus, so we can actually downsize from this large van, which is very difficult. It's for mobility and for all access for all. So we did not win that grant, and so the senior services committee will, which also doesn't need a
CDL, correct.
Thank you, CDL driver, which actually gives us more options. So John over at the senior center could actually drive the van if needed and be a little bit more flexible with our and their needs on errands and things. So you're going to be getting that pitch at some point, and Jimmy, if you wouldn't mind circling back with them.
Sure.
And finding out some costs, and so we can consider something, because there is that need and we did not get the grant.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very busy schedule.
Yes, Councilman.
Just recalls from a couple months back that we've had any update on the visa benchmarking? You're gonna look at our fees. At the last meeting and the meeting before that, we're going to look at the different fees.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, the one that I know, right now that, that's pending with me is fire prevention. The fire prevention fees, so that will be forthcoming, and then I am seeking, with other departments, their internal review to make sure our fees are in line or, and updated as they should be.
We get that next, it's the appropriate time, next meeting or?
For fire prevention, or,
I would think that we want the number, the top 10, top 20 fees. Look at what we're charging, looking at what the Bergen County average is, just to make sure that we're in line. Again, this is something that's gonna help us come budget.
yeah, is there any specific?
So we're
Any-
collecting our fair share.
Right. So I would do the biggest ones, I
Well,
wouldn't do
I
the
don't
one.
think it should go probably, it's easiest to go department by department, but others for to have more, you know, like building department fire, better.
Again, this is a macro and
Yes.
all. We're trying to get ahead of ourselves come budget time. We could do one of two things. We could just tax our residents profusely. Or we can look at other ways that we could manage expenses, win on our fees that people are voluntarily doing versus tax. I like to look at that. So we've been talking about it for a couple of months. Let's see where.
Okay, no problem.
And then I know we had the two standing committees. So going back, we said we were going to do the efficiency, looking at our budget review. Again, we want to do that in advance. And then the second one is, you know, growing up as a kid, my parents didn't want to. Because every time I read it, some other towns getting all these rent money and we're definitely not getting our fair share. So we were going to put a team together to help us go after. We have amazing relationships with our congressmen, state senators and others. How do we get that fair share?
So I have a meeting Thursday night with several residents with this conversation. They're very interested in being part of these discussions.
I think,
I'll have a report back on.
thank you. I think there's a macro thing that I, as kind of our chief executive, I do feel like we talk about a lot of things at these meetings. We have a lot of, I think because there's so many, and I appreciate Omar, I read through them, it's each month. It's actually exciting to get to go through it all over again, twice, 3 times. But it's, I think we could do better in my day job. We have a sort of an action item. What we're trying to do, and then each month we just check. I would actually love to stop doing more work or asking for more things because we didn't do the last. We approve or recommend or take action things, and I don't know if necessarily follow up the next month. So I'm happy to help, let me know. I just like to put us a little more.
Absolutely.
Happy any way we can do it. I just want to.
Shared to-do list, that's interesting.
I keep a running one, but. Jimmy, I have a question, actually. I heard from a couple residents on Bliss Avenue and Whitewood, which is right on the corner. I'd like to know the idea.
Before he answers that question, I just want to say, last week, I was very excited to see concrete for the footings report. I know that Councilman Grossman went to visit, I went to visit, Jimmy went to visit it, so that was some good news, but go ahead.
Yeah,
I was,
Oh, you got to see it too?
I got to
Oh,
see
good.
it. Well, I was on the streets dropping children.
yeah, the original, completion date was hopefully to be in start of the time with school, which is,
Yes.
we're,
Which is today.
yeah. The updated estimate is, November.
That's a large difference.
Yeah,
What is?
fortunately, they, with some of the plans and conceptual plans being finalized and also, supplies.
I think we should give notification to residents that are affected that they I know Jimmy and I spoke about some water issues they were having.
Water pressure problems over there generally.
Yes,
I do have to give us props, though, if you look into the right of, to the north and to the
Definitely.
south, you look at Demarest, you look at,
Breast.
I'm super impressed, and very appreciative of our team that, yes, we're a little delayed, but well ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, please.
I'm just gonna say that to Councilmember Dayton's point, not just notifying those residents, I think that should be part of the messaging or something, because we don't know how many people it impacts, because it right. A lot of people on Elm Street who are very concerned about their traffic patterns.
a lot of walkers.
A lot of walkers, so a lot of people go to Kesher, so I would say
We'll do an update this Friday with that.
it's good for a general update.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. The only Alicia wanted to spit a couple of items on her report.
Hello, how are you?
Mayor and council, how's everybody doing?
And
So I just have a few quick items. We also hired an administrative assistant to the borough's clerk office that's gonna help with the website updates and miscellaneous items around the borough's clerk office. So I'm really happy about that. Governor Murphy signed an executive order to eliminate the COVID-19 testing for federal and state workers, for some federal and state workers. So with that, the borough will no longer be testing weekly for COVID-19. We did have one separation, it was a part-time position from the recreation department, but because we were able to fill it, Jamie, she won't be short. We have two more positions to fill in the recreation department, which are part-time positions, and then the fire department will be completely filled.
Thank you.
So lastly, we have one employee, this is good news and a little bit sad. She's been with us for a little over 40 years. She's going to be retiring September 30th will be the last day, the administrative assistant to the police chief. Yeah, after 40 years of service, she'll be retiring from the borough. So of course, we need to backfill that position for the police chief. I worked with the chief on updating the job description and with updating that job description, we realized that the role has evolved. It's been over 40 years. Currently revolved in a contract. After looking at the job description, the role and responsibilities, this is truly a confidential position that should not be part of any contract agreement because they're privy to confidential information such as contracts, terminations, personnel information. I can't speak to why it was there previously, but just looking at the full scope of the job now, it makes sense to put it in its respective place. I also work with the union representatives as well to make them aware that we would be moving this to, it will no longer be part of the contract going forward. In 2023, we will eliminate the current job title from the OPIU contract. In your packet, you'll notice that there's a resolution to create a new job title, which is confidential assistant to the police chief. That will be the new title going forward. The salary range is the same. I did work with the salary range with the CFO. We do have a candidate for that position. We interviewed probably over 10 people, the chief and I, internally and externally. We had several resumes. The chief made his final decision. I saw no need to dispute this decision. I also worked with the CFO on the salary recommendation for the internal applicant. So,
Questions for Alicia? Go ahead,
I
Laura.
just want to also acknowledge the retirement of one of our officers, Joe Greco. And so thank him for his long service
I'm sorry, I didn't
and
know.
wish him the best and wish him good health and, success in the future. Though he will be missed.
September the 1st.
Any other questions for Alicia? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jimmy, are you done with the administrative
That
report?
concludes my report. Thank you.
Any other
Oh, go ahead.
questions for Jimmy? Go ahead.
Yeah, just one more. I think as we had a discussion, Jimmy, Councilwoman Dayton, I'm sorry, O'Connor and I, we met with Mike Cassidy and one of the, and the Parks.
Foreman.
Yeah, Foreman, to talk about the COVID memorial location in Davis Johnson Park. And, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or where that is, or if you want me to talk.
It doesn't matter. It's up to you. I'm happy either way. But as Councilman Menon indicated, we met with the group of us last week to go over the location, the ideas by the with recommendations from everyone included with the subcommittee, with our DPW. So a location was determined. We worked through all the logistics and ideas and the proposals for this, the type of plantings that would be appropriate in that setting for the intended use for the memorial. So I think at this point, we're ready to proceed forward with the ordering of the bench and monument and then to have the plantings be done internally by the Public Works, their employees internally. So I think we're at that point to move forward with the memorial. If there's anything left out.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, in terms of the funding, there was, there's no need to come to the council for, the funding is in place for the bench and the plaque. And the plantings, they'll, there are a couple of sources that we can look into it.
Okay, great.
In addition to potentially requesting a trust fund to be set up for that purpose.
Okay, so you're going to come to the next council meeting with some of those details? Is that?
So, yeah, it's not necessary.
Yeah, okay. Just kinda
It's
get-
just more of an update that we're proceeding forward with, through recommendations
Good.
with the subcommittee. The
progress.
location was determined and, specific types of plantings were recommended that we're going to proceed forward with to do all internally.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to correspondence. Next, the correspondence we have is about the senior center. Don, would you like to step up to the microphone? Do you have a second? Okay, whoever would like to be the spokesperson is welcome to. The council may have a couple of questions. Have all the council members had an opportunity to read this letter?
Yes.
Hello?
Sally Rubeck, 22 Esmond Place.
Donna Dubin, 131 Oak Street, Tenafly.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you for being here. Of course, you put together, we all love the senior center. It's wonderful, right? So you put together this letter, your committee met. I'm just going to ask a general question. By asking the question, I'm not insinuating that however you answer it is what's going to happen. Okay, so I'm just, what are you asking for? A new senior center or a renovated senior center?
Senior Center. I don't know if this place can be renovated. I
Okay.
mean, they're two old trailers.
The trailers, right?
From the 70s that were, from what Eileen said, used to take classes in the 70s.
We need a new one. Full stop.
I just want to, okay, so which council members would you like to talk a little, or council members have questions, or? Yes, Adam, please.
I actually like kind of with team and I spoke with the team. We'd be very action oriented. So there are a couple of things. One, there was an idea that make it more of a complex in the library area. Senior Center, as I best understand it and read it, it's probably not the best one for them. Very specific action. I think we spoke about it 300 or 400 years ago. Across the street, there are a couple of parking lots. One we own, parking lot, whatever the letter is, but then there's the other one that is owned by, I believe, it's the same people that own the CBS lot. I would love if the mayor's open to it. Again, already done it, and I thought he was actually open to a sale.
There were conversations going on about that property, moving lots around, trading lots. So people were open to conversation.
I would love to understand this. Would he be willing, he doesn't need it for any use, at least in the past 10 years, it's never used. Let's see what it costs. I think that, I mean, again, if you guys agree, that's literally across the street. I could see on Friday, you guys close for the night, and then literally on Monday morning, you just start on the other side.
And that would be a first.
So why don't we find out? If it's $1 billion, sorry, it's not gonna work. But if it's a reasonable number, I think that is a great, it's central to our town. It is a great, let's see what, and again, let's get a rough number to see how crazy it is or.
Our ideal location would be to stay downtown in the center of town.
Yeah, no, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great.
You know, we talk about Grove Street. or Center, our businesses like us, we, you know, can use the restaurants and their stores. Here to stay in that location.
Jeff?
So I know Councilman Michaels quickly poo-pooed the idea of around here.
No, I didn't do it. I'm sorry, I didn't intend to, I didn't give it my opinion at all. I know that the senior center, the team responded back saying that it wasn't ideal. I didn't.
I would still like to explore something because it's very close to Tenafly House, right across the street from Browning House. I know that the senior center has been using the Oresco Park area in nice weather for stretching. It's still downtown, provides lots of parking. So and so we're looking at discussion, but we're looking at a library that is falling apart quickly. A senior center that is in dire need of a new facility. A McCandless room, which has the worst acoustics this side of the Mississippi, and a teen center that has some bump in the middle because the entire center is falling. So at some point, as a council, we're gonna have to address that site anyway. So maybe we can not just think one story, but 2 stories where libraries in 2 stories, you guys get a first floor. But I want to have the kind of discussion where we're going to not just cherry pick one problem and address it, cherry pick another problem and address it, because that will cost us an arm and a leg. I think if we work towards one universal solution, I know Councilmember Dayton has been pushing for a community center of some sort. It's just a question of where and how, but I would like that to be part of the dialogue person.
Is that something, what was the last, I feel like we discussed it at the last meeting, was Ian supposed to come back to us with something, or what was it?
On the library, not on the senior
That was
center.
on
The whole idea was the complex.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that. The cost per square foot is about $500 a square
Right, I
foot.
remember that. Okay, so try again. If no one is following up on anything on it, then what action can we take to have a couple more years? I get to, I do come a lot. The darts were good the other night, but not the point. I just want to kind of, whether it's a meeting to talk about the different options, let's bring the cards. I thought we spoke with like the library, the senior center.
We did, and there was a general cost, but that cost is no matter where we build it, it's gonna be however many dollars.
$500 a square foot.
So let's just, again, I don't
So if we want, we get
directly address the
So-
question around, they do want action taken.
So if the council wants, we can ask our engineers to put together a proposal for what it will cost to start thinking about this from an architectural and engineering standpoint.
For both options.
Well, they would be tasked with thinking about the whole thing, whether it's one location that's combined, 2 separate locations, that sort of
And
thing.
let's see what I'm making up this number, what the 5 things are, the senior center, the library, the community center, a endless room, recreation, a team center, right? Because we want team center.
I'm just gonna throw something out there, and then, yes, Lauren and Benu, is, we toyed with the idea, no one really liked it a few years ago about building this seats above, basically pay for it, but that really wasn't a popular idea. But maybe if we think about it in terms of, if we
I think we
had,
should
No,
I know I spoke with them and I think there was
so
some.
let me just finish my thought process here, because not just, living space, it could be, doctor's offices and professional offices on floor 2 and 3. And you get a developer, because we own the land, so it doesn't cost, there's always there's opportunity cost, but we don't have to lay out cash. We could wind up with a deal where the developer builds the entire building, and we don't have to pay any tax money for a senior center because they get the 2 floors above. And that's, in other words, part of the concept and the ideas. But go ahead, Lauren.
So I was on the senior center meetings when that was discussed, and I know that the seniors as a whole were not, they weren't enamored with the idea of
Right.
having apartments above, because we were trying to figure out funding, and that wasn't the preference, and I hear you. I have pitched over the past year and a half, a senior center and a community center, and attach it to green space and a walking track and community gardens and outdoor space, which then would still lead right into downtown with pathways. I'm still hopeful that I can convince this council that that's the most efficient way to give you guys the largest space,
Right.
new classrooms, green space to exercise, benches, areas to sit in, gardens, pavilions, and so forth. I think that concept, I'd love to hear what the group has to say, to consider something along those lines. With a new community center, I did a lot of research on senior grants and what could be available if you create, accessible buildings, green buildings, things like that. The community center with a senior center, an entire floor, 2 floors, a wing, whatever you want to put, with the green space attached to it, actually has grant opportunities, which would help funding. I would love to hear what your group thinks about that. It would be a significantly bigger space for the seniors. It would have, a lot more open space for you guys to manage their things. Especially classes. I know classes are filling up, which is fantastic. And so you can kind of reimagine, exercise, fitness, education, arts, anything, gardening, anything of that. I would need to hear back from, your group. I'm not looking to move you unless you want to consider that. And I don't think I have the votes yet to consider that.
If I may say, area, experience that we have had in this respect, I believe that when we had that many years, and
Yes.
we have a lot of people who were below, have many single job. However, I believe that now having have COVID and knowing wage inflation and so on, I see more openness to do something with a financial assistance for the private sector.
Mhm.
And in the area that we drive, we look at really careful what our main concern was to get some kind of burden or some kind of location where we can carry out our affairs, where we control what we do.
Mhm.
Our main concern of getting in a group or whatever, it's not to, we would love to share it and have way to share the location and the rooms of the people. But during the hours that we conduct our business, we like to have for
Vision a separate entrance, an ADA accessible entrance, separate elevator that would be designated for a senior center. I don't envision, the rest of the community being able to come into the senior area. Yes, and that was raised in the concept ideas.
We do understand that it's difficult tax base.
My question would be, where are you thinking, since you're saying community center?
I had actually,
Not say
That's okay. I had actually pitched it, near or with the pool clubs that exist, a reimagined area. We own the properties in that corner. There would be a walking closer to where Stop and Shop is, and then could lead. But again, it would then need, and we talked about connectivity and walking paths and safer walkways to downtown. That's just an idea we were discussing. One of those properties is now under a possible grant, so we'd have to shift it. But we have many buildings at this point that need enormous help. I could tell you, having been in your center for many times, you really are not ADA compliant in a way you need to be. You need more ramping, you need more access, you need better, I know we've done bathrooms, but you really do need a lot. And so I think this council hears you. We want to try to give it to you. We just also need to find solutions that aren't overtaxing everybody.
Make it an open exercise. So I mean, we have meetings, and we can, take a picture out of the oven. So we
Yes.
do that. It's really throwing stuff in the business. So the-
Mhm.
This was present there.
As Councilman Michael said, we need to be, I guess, to push it forward. I think at the last meeting, there was some discussion, if I remember, of some committee being set up or something. I mean,
So that's essentially the DPW committee, which is a standing committee, Public Works. So it's the public DPW committee will roads and infrastructure. But the takeaway here is the council would like the administration put together, communicate with our engineer to put together a proposal for the course of doing the investigation on all this, for engineering and what's the best locations and all that. And that is the first step in the process. And then we get into, the details of window treatments and all that, the fun stuff. We have to do the hard, so we're moving forward in that manner. And certainly we'll have a response, not necessarily the proposal from the engineer, but we'll certainly have had the conversations and a little update on where that is. Okay? Pardon me?
We'll just.
I'm sure of it, yes, I know. Thank you both. Thank you both. Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body on the committee of the whole agenda. This items on the agenda for the committee of the whole. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. We're going to have public comment again later this evening where anyone can speak on any matter whatsoever. Who would like to talk about the agenda for this meeting? Yes, Christine, come up to the microphone. No, we're past correspondence. We're in public comment.
I just had two, Christine Evron, 39 Leroy, private citizen. Consider putting the museum in the new library and consider putting a presentation space in the senior center that would allow for showing movies at night. That might be a revenue source and then used for garden club presentations, or normal presentations during the day.
Okay.
When is there's an open, this is not the open public.
This is to talk about anything discussed during the committee of the whole, which is now, and then later on at the public meeting, which won't be very long from now, you can talk about any topic you want.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
To your engineer's request to put in museum space, because our librarians are wonderful curators. They've had all kinds of historic exhibits. And if you've got a space there that is partially dedicated to Cody Stanton, and you can bring in the Roosevelt Common history, I'm sure that could be a very attractive, near to downtown space for a museum.
Okay, thank you. Would any members of the public here in the chambers like to make public comments? Yes, come up to the microphone. Take your time, there's no rush.
Mayor Zenna and members of the council, Alita Kratnoff, 27 West Clinton 2A. Maybe not a questions, comments about what has been discussed tonight. First of all, for Jimmy, when he's considering the bus, it's a smaller bus, fine. Will it hold a wheelchair?
Of course.
Oh, okay, that's it. The second thing maybe was Congressman Michael's comment with which I concur. Let's, you said, let's finish what we started. And I think that's a good idea because the financial outputs discussed, great. But we're spending a lot of money on COVID, tax and so on. Meanwhile, these other things, and let's face it, will take care of themselves. We spend a lot here and there, and we have these wonderful ideas, if only we had the money to do them. So I think we have to concentrate on the ideas that have been put forth before, finish them up, and then go. Councilperson Dayton, you mentioned the pool area, which is wasted space, really. But, and it may be great for the walkway, but I don't see it as a place for our senior center because it's not close to downtown, and downtown business profits from having the senior center in the center. Who else? Maybe it was I can't remember who said it now. Something about elevators in this structure. Good idea, but not for seniors because they are so limited in space and time. You see how long it takes me to get up here? And wheelchairs and crutches. Really not too feasible for us. And I think the reason we were against having that 2-3-story complex was that the parking, there would be a parking problem because it was going to move into our parking spaces now. And seniors, while there are municipal areas that are sometimes 2/3 full, 1/2 full, they're not walking there. So these are just my thoughts on what's been said, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please come up to the microphone.
Last time I spoke to you in June, but I know that's not on for right now, but if you know anything about it, I would be happy to hear it. I would like to comment that the services for seniors have improved so much and been so helpful. I again mentioned this in June, but I'd like to reiterate that having the senior bus, especially if you can't drive anymore, and having a central senior center where you can actually walk, have been so helpful. I know that there are resources and it's hard when you're thinking about getting a new vehicle, spending money, but it has really made living in Tenafly much more viable for seniors and a very happy place to be. And we have time, money to spend in town, not just on taxes, but on good things, quality of life. So those things are really important. That's my appreciation. Also, I think that the idea of across the parking lot across the street, that idea, not too much time going from one to another. I think Grove Street is very difficult. I tried walking to the Tenafly Swim Club, and it's really quite a trek and quite difficult. So I just wanted to say thank you and keep keep up the good work in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other members of the public here would like to speak? Is there anyone, Omar, out on WebEx, online who would like to speak? Do you see any hands raised?
See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to close public comment then. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and participation. Next item, resolutions. Members of the council, do you have questions about the resolutions? No? Oh.
There is a typo on the date of resolution R 22-295 in section 1. Which should note that the date of adoption is September 6th. That was a carryover, so there is a corrected resolution for that. It just didn't make it into your package in time.
Okay, so we just.
Everything else is the same.
Oh, I need to call that out when we vote on it, when the council votes on it?
No, it's
Okay.
just being noted.
Okay. Okay, thank
It's
you.
been updated, just didn't make it into your package.
Okay, Councilman Bennett?
Just a couple of resolutions that I wanted to pull out. One was 291, which is.
What's the letter is, what is it?
Also, the letters and the resolutions in our package don't kind of go together. So there's a little bit of a mismatch. There are certain items on the screen that don't correspond to resolutions in the.
So we're pulling out.
Okay, so that's good. Which ones you're asking to pull?
So 291 is.
291? Okay,
No, it's the one on the borough attorney.
okay. What else?
And then just if we could, I see Jason Kavizzi on the line, but I don't know if, Susan may want to address, just explain what's going on with the resolution, the bond resolution.
Susan, please step up to the microphone.
So we have capital projects and we take out bond anticipation notes. And then those are considered temporary financing. And then as time goes by, you can roll those notes. And on the third anniversary date, you have to start paying principal. So we do planning and it's about 5 or 6 years. And now we see a significant drop off in our debt for next year. So now is the perfect time to permanently finance those bond anticipation notes. So next year, I think our debt this year was about 3.5 million for principal and interest. And next year, we're going to be going down to, and I have to look at my note here, the drop off is down to 2.8 with the new proposed schedule. And with that being said, we do know that there's going to be an increase in state health benefits. So this will help to absorb those increases in costs. And it's a significant drop off of about 700,000 in our debt and interest. And we probably will do another bond after that because we keep planning for that in a few more years when we see another drop off. So that's what we're doing right now.
Questions from thank you, Susan. Questions from the council?
I just want to say thank you for your hard work.
Do you have a rough sense of, I know 6 months back, we were pushing really hard on redoing stuff. January, I know the rates have gone up considerably. Do you have a sense of what you think the rates are going to come back at? Because we don't know until we get the bids, right? Do you have a rough sense?
I think that since we're a AAA rated municipality, that we're going to get really great rates. We had a Moody's call this like maybe under 3, I'm hoping for 2.75, 3. That could be the composed about. I mean, I don't know for sure. We have to wait for the bids to come in, but we're so highly rated that we're sought after. And we're Moody's, when they did our call last week, we didn't have as many questions as I anticipated, and I think we flew through the call.
And then the last thing is, team. Obviously, we would have done better 6 months ago, but the rates are only going to go up. I know I've said this multiple times. Is this the right amount of money to go out with, you know, making up a number. We think we need another $1 million next year. Obviously, getting it now. AAA rating.
So there's a couple of things that go into this. We look at when we actually have to make these principal payments. So when you do a note, you're only paying the interest on it. And then you don't have to pay the debt for 3 years. So there's careful planning that goes into this. So right now, amount, anything over $10 million would not be bank qualified. So right now we're at 8.5 to do this sale. So that's why we chose that amount. The useful life is under 10 years. Maybe if we can get the useful life a little longer, but that's not what the useful life is for the projects that we have.
And we don't anticipate needing anything next year.
We are going to probably need some new money at the end of this year, which would be normal because it's the right time to take it out. We do that almost every year. I just didn't do it yet this year.
Let's take it offline. The biggest thing is if we know we're gonna want to take now, let's make a one Oreo bet that the rates are gonna be higher 3 months from now than it is now. Your 10% might be a great insight on, you don't want to go over that cap. Taking an extra $1 million now is better than waiting and taking it 3 months. We did it 6 months ago because rates are only going up. So that's just, again, I'm not the expert. That's the thing that I would think about for this one.
So I see Jason turned on his video, so if he has something to say, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm available if there's any questions.
So you're going to comment on Councilman Michael's question?
So just to supplement then what Susan was describing with respect to the business decision of permanently financing now and the specific amounts, I would just like to add as well that the reason why you stay in notes in the beginning is not just the benefit of the interest only payments, but you want to make sure that progress in each project is near complete before you bond finance that project. And by doing so, that avoids subsequent tax compliance issues, right? You want to make sure that you're not bonding for more money than you actually need. So you stay in notes until a project is near complete, if not complete. And that's part of the analysis as well as far as sizing a deal, if that's helpful. But you are correct. The general financial advice that you would hear from your municipal advisor who gives that advice, not from your bond counsel, is yes, rates are going up.
I knew you had another question.
Yeah, so.
Same topic?
No.
So
different topic.
does anybody have any questions for Susan? Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Okay, no, go ahead.
So going back to 291, part of the, since Jimmy's back, maybe Jimmy, you can explain what the reason is for, because this will be an increase to the budget, a $50,000 increase, no?
I can explain part of that.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So there's certain, and Susan, please correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is there's a different line item that in your budget already. I believe it's budget neutral. The issue is that my contract was only for a certain amount, so payments can't be made if they exceed that contracted amount, but that's not the budgeted amount.
Understood, but we're taking from another part of the budget. Right, but that not the line that was initially intended for the borough attorney.
Yes and no. It's for unanticipated items, which there have been.
Mhm.
So I've been working with Susan to designate on the different billing numbers, what would get reallocated from that we're asking to be expanded to allow for payment.
Okay, why don't you elaborate on that?
So Wendy and I did speak about this, and it will be charged to your line item, but within a control of all the legal. So there is money that is there, And there were some unforeseen items that, for services that Wendy performed in this year that were not anticipated. And that's how the items are run over. We are going to be looking to see if some of them could be maybe transferred to a different line item to reduce the cost in the legal expenses.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, and then the next one is Resolution 302,
302.
which is the NJDEP grant, Green Projects Grant Program.
I can talk a little about that if you like.
Okay, yeah, because, some of these things come up without prior discussion, and then they just, all of a sudden, we're committing to certain things that we're not sure we're committing to.
So I did bring this up because this is the Tenafly Nature Center hired its own grant writer.
Mhm.
And I brought this up at the last meeting and the meeting before. What they're looking for is the grant writer identified numerous opportunities within the nature center that they could apply for. This has been discussed also with Jimmy and Deborah have met on this. The nature center is actually focusing on invasive species and would like additional grant money to help combat the invasive species on the 400 acres that they preserve. As stewards of the land, they believe that this will help, reconnect the nature center, prevent things like the lantern bugs from being attracted with Tree of Life. And so what they're doing is they're asking in this grant for funding to hire additional help to get rid of the invasive species within the nature center property.
Got it.
Because it's our property, I'll just finish explaining, then you can ask me additional, and I'm sorry, I don't think Deborah's on tonight. What the grant writer identified is there's actually a funding source for this, that, the state is welcoming this kind of work. And so what they need is our permission to do this work because we own the property. But they've paid for the grant writer, the funding will go through the nature center. Jimmy, is that right?
Yeah, essentially, this is just, yeah, go ahead.
Can I interrupt
Yeah.
you really quick?
Go ahead.
Because this was, I understand the grant. I'm talking about the White Trail Restoration Project. Is that the?
That's the concept of it,
Okay,
yes.
so, because that, I don't believe, was that discussed?
Specifically discusses the
And
project
White
because
Tra-
the nature
exactly.
center had to decide that this is what they wanted to apply for.
Got it. Okay.
So-
And that's where, some of my, because last meeting, I, for the first time ever, I was out somewhere else and called in. So I didn't quite hear everything, but just wanted to make sure that.
They had a grant, I discussed that they had a grant writer looking at projects. I didn't discuss this particular grant.
Correct.
Because it was met, the nature center met on this at the end of August or almost end of August, decided that this is what they were gonna seek with.
So
Deborah
this-
and Jimmy
So this specific project is that.
is now getting before us today. The White Trail, if you want to call it the White Trail Project, but when Deborah came during budget time, one of her main focuses
I
was
remember the
discussing
discussion about
the,
invasive
the
species.
curtailing the invasive species and the invasive bugs. So this was always on the agenda, now they're just trying to follow through.
Just clarify, this is. They're paying for their.
Yes, we,
They are.
the borough owns the land. They
No, I
can't-
understand why, right.
They're paying, the Nature Center organization's paying for it.
Yes.
Clarify, for the actual grant application, if the person applying for the grant is not the owner of the land, you need a letter of endorsement. So this resolution authorizes Jimmy to give that letter of endorsement.
It is election season, all about endorsing.
Any other,
Wait.
who else has questions about resolution? You have it, go ahead, sure.
Okay, so also wanted to understand these number 305, which is the subcode official, 305 and 308. Both on the subcode official.
Okay, I don't see 308 in front of me, but that's also the subcode official.
That's the
So,
second.
okay,
There it
yeah,
is.
the current time subcode official is out on extended leave. So this is just to be able to continue services, be able to respond to emails, conduct zoning applications, inspections, and so on and so forth. The interim appointments are current employees. We're just extending their hours. Everything that individual was doing on, while out on this extended leave. Yeah, and this was, discussed with the CFO to ensure, in terms of finance that, that no major impact to the budget, but this is something, that we have to provide the coverage and services and the inspections while, this individual is out on their leave.
Any other council members have questions about resolutions?
No.
No? Okay,
I'm good.
okay.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, do you want that resolution done separately?
I want to.
290.
291 will be full for a separate vote.
Can I just ask, is there a reason you wouldn't approve the nature center getting a grant?
No.
That's not
the-
291?
contract.
Okay, sorry. Just checking, because I was very curious.
Okay. No questions about any questions about the minutes? Any questions about the public hearing?
So
Anyone have anything for the good of the order?
just it's
Go
about
ahead.
the ordinance for the solid waste management. I just want to explain to the other council people here, and we've been working on affecting our solid waste disposal ordinance for the purpose of making sure it's not attractant to, any rodents. And in the time in between the first reading and now this one, I had heard finally from our health inspector, who's been really very helpful, but there was a couple things I was waiting on for her feedback. And this is very good work. I really want to compliment our attorney on this, and it's very thorough. However, I think that it might be best if I ask to table this and introduce it, possibly amended for next time, maybe after council hears the feedback. She's said a few times that this is our health inspector, that she's very concerned about these large oil waste containers, and some of you might have mentioned that in the past. The way it stands now, she really wants very specified that these containers that are that apparently they're installed by a service, an outside service, and that the service that brings these type of containers, this waste management companies, that when the restaurant closes permanently, they don't like to take them away. So that the containers apparently accumulate, and inside there's large amount of activity that's happened, and that it's a source of odors and bad appearance. So given that she really wants that clarified more, Wendy's thought elements of that were covered in the ordinance. I do think just to tighten it up in the way that our health inspector would like, I think it would be best if I asked to table this, if we could add that.
Okay, so
And then-
what I'll do is, in the public meeting, I'll ask for a motion to table, and then a second.
Okay. Okay.
All right, for the good of the order, anyone? Old business, anyone? Okay, could I have a excuse me, did someone say something?
Mayor, if, for the good of the order, if you don't mind, if I just give an update, I know I've already.
Oh, go ahead, please, yes.
But there will be an ordinance coming in the near future. There's about 90 days left enacted. There's a new insurance registry requirement for municipalities. It came down from state statute. There'll be a fee associated with it, and the municipality will now be responsible for making sure that certain multifamily establishments that are rented, as well as businesses, have certain minimum insurance requirements. And so for it to not be an unfunded mandate on municipalities, they give you the ability to charge fees in order to cover your costs. That will be coming soon enough for your consideration.
To those multi.
And certain businesses, yes. Called the Municipal Insurance Registry Program.
Sounds awesome.
Doesn't it? There's new fees for you.
Any old business? Could I have a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting? Second? All in favor?
Right.
Okay, we are adjourned. Does anyone want a 2-minute break, or we'll go right into the public meeting?
Mayor, can we start the open meeting with an announcement for tomorrow? I just want, can you announce the law?
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so nobody wants a break, so we're gonna go right into the meeting. So go ahead while we get it organized.
We'll take it 2 minutes.
Okay, 4 minutes.
Just don't want it to be at like the last.
Okay, I'll do it right after the roll call.
So it's 6:30
Yeah.
here in McCandless Room. I saw the banner downtown. Are you guys coming? Jimmy, are you making it tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course.
Bennu, are you making it tomorrow? New residence event?
Don't think I'll be able to, only
6
because
to 8 here in McCandless. Dan,
Okay.
Dan, are you making?
Oh, Omar, are we ready?
I'm not
We have
sure.
full council members. We can start. Omar?
Resident.
Okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. A salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag. States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll. So Omar, we have members of the council here. I'll do the roll call, then we'll note that when they return.
You're on the floor.
Well, 3 members of the council and the mayor, so we make the quorum. I make the quorum.
Yes.
Go ahead, Omar, please.
Councilmember Dayton, Councilmember Grossman. Here. Councilmember Menon. Here. Councilmember Michaels. Councilmember Dr. O'Connor. Councilmember Park. Here. Mayor Zena.
Here. I'd like to, have a motion to approve the minutes of July 25th, August 22nd, and August 8th, all of 2022.
So,
Have a second? Second. Have the, roll call, please.
actually, is there a limit on someone being able to vote if they weren't at the meeting? How can they approve the minutes?
I abstain.
They abstain from the meetings that they missed, so you may want to just call for them separately.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna, Omar,
Okay.
in light of that information, I'm gonna call for these individually. And Councilman Michaels and Councilman Park, note, have joined the meeting. Dayton, excuse me. Councilwoman
Do
Dayton.
you remember which meetings I made?
Okay, so we're gonna do individual votes on the minutes. First, have a motion to approve the minutes of July 25th, 2022.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
I guess, Omar, should we call the roll or,
Call the roll.
yeah, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dayton.
So I was at the
July.
July 25th meeting.
So we're
and-
just voting on that one.
No,
Yes,
you were not.
I was at July, I was in July, I was not in August.
Actually, no, actually, we're not, that was a special closed session. You were not in the July.
So it's
I was not at the July 20th meeting, excuse me, I was just at the regular council
You are
meeting.
abstaining.
Abstain.
Okay,
Thank you.
Omar, continue.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
yes.
Councilmember Michaels. Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes of August 22nd, 2020.
Second.
Roll call, please.
This was a-
August 22nd.
A special meeting.
No. Not August.
It does, it says.
Special
August-
regular meeting.
August 22nd.
There's a little crew of us.
That was a,
That's fun.
yeah, August 22nd was a special regular meeting. It was for the resolution to, move forward with the special council.
Omar,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The attachment.
Attachment has the wrong meeting on it.
It has Tuesday, April 5th.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right. And then in the regular, it's in the regular.
Yeah.
It-
Oh, I have to abstain.
It
from that
isn't in the
one.
working session, it's in.
Is it there?
The regular, yes.
To go back in.
August 22 is listed after July 25. Yeah.
Actual.
You put
April 5th.
two.
Okay, so can we correct that on the
Yeah,
fly?
correct that.
We can correct it on the fly.
That were present can
Vote on
have been able to review the minutes. If they've been unable to review the minutes, then
We have the minutes, just says for April, August 22nd, it just says April 5th on the piece of paper.
Okay, so has
Okay.
everyone reviewed the minutes who is going to vote?
No, because
The minutes aren't there.
they don't have,
They don't have them.
The April 20th.
So Omar,
no, that.
Omar, can we put it on the next agenda then? So they have, let's do that. Okay, we're not voting on the August 22nd minutes. Let's move to have a motion to approve the minutes of August 8th, the regular meeting.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
You weren't there on that one.
August 8th.
Sorry, Omar, pick a name for.
I'll
roll.
second.
I'm on the
Second.
22nd. I'm on the 22nd.
Okay. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Abstain.
Councilmember Park.
Abstain.
Okay. All right, so next I want to interject an announcement. Tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 PM at Peace Plaza outside the library is a new residence event from 6 to 8 PM. They serve fabulous hors d'oeuvres, there's balloons for the kids, it's fun for the whole family.
Ice cream truck?
Not this year, we're catering it.
We're
It's-
catering it?
La Promenade will be catering.
It's always a fabulous event and hope to see everyone there 6 to 8 PM at Peace Plaza tomorrow night.
Is it raining?
Okay. Next on the agenda, any revisions to the agenda?
yes, Mayor, in the consent agenda, resolution R 22-291 will be pulled for a separate vote. And just to reiterate, the date was corrected on R 22-295 so that in section 1, it would read adopted on the date of September 6th.
Okay, and that was resolution, which one? Which resolution was that?
That is, the revision was resolution R 22-295.
Okay, it was edit. Okay, public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Who would like to speak during public comment? Your young lady in the back, your hand was up first.
Mary Salpukas, repeat performance. In June, I came to mayor and council about the problem of the danger of the top of Hillside Avenue where the sidewalk ends and you have to cross the street. There's a bend in the road. There was a fatality and a severe accident there. And I live on Hillside Avenue. So I see people walking their dogs, walking their baby carriages, students walking up and down. And they're all, if they're not going to walk down the hill again, walk up the hill, walk down the hill, they're not going to do that. They have to cross the sidewalk across the street. So I mentioned this at the council meeting in June. And I was wondering if you could give me a progress report.
Let's speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I just have to, I'll speak with the police chief again. I've made him aware. I could follow up with him regarding that status.
You have a question?
I have a follow-up.
Oh, okay.
So I had a question for you, because I live right there, I live on Laurel, I'm right there. So from what I understand, do you want the crosswalk across Angle, or do you want it to go across Hillside?
Okay. Going across Hillside would make no sense because there's no
Right.
sidewalk there.
Right.
So there are two areas that need help. One area is the top of Hillside Avenue, cross Angle to the sidewalk on the opposite
Right.
side.
The sidewalk's only on the north side.
That's one. The second one is at Clinton,
Right.
where there is no crosswalk between the sidewalk on one side of Clinton and Engle on the other side. I did talk to the Commission for the Blind, and they did an assessment that said that both areas needed help.
So I have to tell you, I've looked into this as well. I walk my dog and my children walk in the same area. This is across Engle Street. So the issues are that we don't own a portion of Engle Street, and we need permission to actually create the crosswalk across it. We own that portion after East Clinton.
No, it's, the only portion that's controlled by the county is from Hudson at the south end, border of Englewood, up to where it bends down into Westville.
That's what I'm talking about. We're in that area.
Oh, I thought we were top of.
We're
Could I
thinking
interject
about
something?
that area.
Yeah, that.
Or into-
And so what I was wondering is what steps have been taken to do an assessment of what would make it safer? We do have that bend in the road, so it's also a blind curve. And for a private residence too. So I think we need an assessment of what needs doing. I like to think, and I said in June, that maybe just the cost of a can of paint, you know, might.
So-
But I
So-
think that is really probably not enough. It is a very unsafe situation.
So we've had conversations.
So I'm asking, who has been assigned to look into it and to make an assessment?
So we've had conversations with the police chief over the issue on Engle Street that you're bringing up tonight. And we've also had conversations with the police chief by way of Jimmy and I on Engle and also Tenafly Road over by Stillman School in terms of additional crosswalks and also speed bumps. Okay? Because one is not necessarily good without the other. And I think there's questions about whether the crosswalk on Engle would actually improve or either improve or decrease the safety there. Okay, so there's all kinds of speed issues there. So we're gonna follow up with the conversation with the police chief. He is the person who does all the investigating and all the analysis in these particular two areas. Go ahead. Yeah, chief is already involved in these conversations. We've already had conversations with them. Okay, there is no answer yet, just to be blunt about it, but the conversation's already started with the chief about both of those locations.
And do you have any idea about how long this might take to
So when we talk about,
implement something?
right, so when we talk about the speed bumps, you know, you mentioned a can of paint, the speed bumps are not quite that easy, obviously, because it's.
I know, I was
Right.
being a little facetious.
I know, no, I understand. I appreciate that. I wish it was that easy. So that involves, you know, the speed bumps involve money, which we have to come back to the council with a discussion about what that means, and how the speed bumps would affect the traffic in
I'm
those.
sure that in that particular area, that would be affected because it's not a straightaway. At that particular point, there's the bend in the road. But there might be something, for example, that stands, and I've seen it occasionally around town, something that stands in the middle of the street and says,
Correct.
slow down, whatever, flashing light, whatever it is. But I think it is something that is pretty urgent.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
And so,
Okay, fair enough.
and I look forward to seeing you again about it.
I know, you'll be here. I understand.
So
Thank you.
can I just actually say one more follow-up?
Yeah.
The Andy, our engineer, has come in and every year we apply for a road grant. This section of Engle is actually going to be our DOT application in our road grant. So when we apply, we should also ask for sidewalking, striping, bike paths, crosswalks. And that's something that we need to get on top of. So
I
the
would
engineers are looking at this.
I would appreciate that very much.
Okay.
And by the way, I just will also mention, you did talk about the library before. And the library, be aware, has been very on top of trying to help those who are visually impaired continue to read. So I know that the squirrels are fighting with the building, but the library has that added value, and it is really working very hard in that direction, which you might not have been aware of. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who else would like to speak? Go ahead, come on up, Christine.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy, President of the Chamber of Commerce. There has been a lot of talk in the planning board and the past meeting about the parking lot ordinance that you're considering, or you being the borough. There are some things that you may or may not be aware of. The planning board is depending on 2 studies that were done during COVID. We're getting back to the people who circulate 3 times around the block to find a parking spot just where they like to park. We no longer have easy parking downtown. I'm getting a lot of reports from the merchants that the parking lot opposite the post office on the other side of Washington Street that is half employee parking is not adequate for employees' needs. At 10 o'clock when they come in, it is already full. That may be partially because our businesses are back in business and clients come in waves, especially at 10 o'clock to go to classes, which all the businesses are very happy that those people are coming in on waves to go to the classes, because afterwards they go and they buy a coffee or something else. We also are having reported problems that in the past with the kids between 12 and 1, if an employee leaves that parking lot to go on an errand, when they come back, it is full. Now that we have new restaurants moving in across the street, we expect it to be much worse. The reason why I dwell on this is because parking lot O is not shoppers parking. It's not at all conducive to shoppers parking back there, but it's very conducive to employee parking. The employees that use the Washington Street parking across from the post office, I'm sorry, I don't know the number, are going to the back of the stores on Washington Street. And so parking lot O would be very convenient. I'd like to have you consider redesignating opposite post office, which I think will be much more used. In the testimony before the planning board on the parking ordinance, they also were citing the lack of use of the parking lot opposite the Elks Club. So you have the Elks Club parking lot and the one directly next to it, not the Wells Fargo lot. That's not shoppers parking, although they tried to evaluate it that way. That is event parking. That is the place where when we have an event downtown, like the summer concerts, the street fairs, the car shows, the Memorial Day parade, that is when that lot fills up. And of course, it will be much worse as the Wells Fargo lot goes away, should that go away. Please keep in mind when you consider this ordinance that's coming up, that if you want to have events, people don't need in parking. And so that's really a very necessary part to the health of our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Can I say something about it? It's not the right
Say whatever
time.
you'd like.
Okay, so at my last environmental commission meeting, the BW director, we were talking ordinances and all these things were kind of intertwined. And he had said that to do the pickup, his guys to do different garbage collections, sometimes the truck has challenges turning around and people parking from overnight that hadn't been like night basically. And that he had said that he was talking to the chief about kind of reinforcing, because it had been lax for a little bit, that there's issues with people parking at hours that usually in parking lot would be the DPW collection of different garbages and things, and then they can't do, their truck can't do the turnaround.
That's an interesting question because the dumpsters aren't in the parking lot. They're in the bypass.
Well, I guess
Some doesn't
whatever
make
they
sense.
need to do the maneuvering, they said, and then they kind of came up strangely of, even the possibility of sometimes take a bus or go away for the day or work maybe overnight in the city and then come back early morning and get their car in the morning. So that basically there were
Okay, we'll look at that.
parking scenarios,
Yeah.
but they were going to do like that. He'd already reached out to the chief and that this issue of like made me think about that. And
Right, we'll
it's
look
just
at that whole
something that
garbage
for the,
situation.
yeah, for the garbage.
Something's not connecting with that one, but okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, any more?
You know, the question center, so that they're doing the painting of light posts.
Yes, that's good.
That's what we would consider more of it. And then when you get the dumpsters from the outside, you create employee parking for the business.
Okay, any other public comments for anyone here? All right, any public, any,
Yeah, we're still seeking some information from the providers that provide the lampposts to see how that could best be done. We're supposed to retain them to come do the work, but we're scheduling that with them.
The League of Municipality vendors, all of them said that the providers cite a method of painting that is extremely expensive and not followed by other municipalities. You might want to talk to other municipalities.
Thank you.
okay, is there anyone on WebEx that would like to make public comments that you can see, Omar? No one's got their hand up, or
I see no hands, Mayor.
anyone who wants to speak and unmute themselves now? No? Okay, all right, we're gonna close public comment. And we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Okay, so I would like to get a motion, did someone raise section to approve R 22-271 through R 22-290 and R 22-292 through R 22-308 with typographical error adjusted in R 22-295.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Can you please call the roll, Omar?
Councilmember Dayton? Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to get a motion to approve resolution R 22-291. Do I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton? Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so table this, right. So I'd like to get a motion to table ordinance 22-17.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
We don't vote on that. We do vote on it? Yes, so call the roll call, please.
And this is the table ordinance 22-17.
Correct.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels? Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll do committee reports. Councilman Park, we'll start with you.
I got nothing.
Okay, Councilman Grossman.
I got a whole summer's worth, but I'll make it short. The meeting of TVAC about a week and a half ago, they discussed that in the month of July, they responded to 80 calls in the month. Their average response time showing up was 8 minutes, and the average time on the call physically there was 36 minutes.
Wow.
So that was pretty impressive. Planning board met, there was a couple of meetings since I last reported. One to discuss 4.5 and 5 West Railroad, which is the site of the old movie theater. The proposed is for 3 stories, just under and just under 44 feet, plus a parapet of 2 feet above that. Ongoing discussions. That would also include 18 apartments and 2 office spaces on the ground floor. There was also most certainly.
I'm very interested in hearing any discussion about preservation of the facade. Obviously, this council didn't preserve it, but I was kind of hoping the planning board would at least have a discussion.
The discussion was basically a couple of members saying, I like modern.
Community,
I
with a
agree.
loss of history. It's one of the oldest historic theaters in the United States.
Not only that, but this is a death knell for us ever having a theater in Tenafly again. That's right.
I absolutely
So,
agree.
I couldn't agree with you more. Did you have any other questions?
Will the new facade that's proposed at least mirror some architectural detailing or something that's beautification and not just be solid?
There's 2 feet of architectural parapet, but there's really not a finalized design. Just looking at my notes, nothing, there was a proposal, but it really wasn't finalized, but the top, which I would assume is the apartments, to be stucco.
Is there another meeting to continue to discuss?
There
the
is.
theater?
Adjourned to September 28th.
So on September 28th, what do you think it would behoove our community to come out and have a discussion on the facade?
I absolutely do.
Thank you.
Then there was also another meeting where 15 Hudson was discussed. That's where Elite Auto is located currently on, really they're on a side street, right near the bottom of Hudson, not far from Piermont. They wanted to go up to a second floor, really the boards, because they're already non-compliant on the first floor by a couple of feet, and the second floor would mirror it. They're not expanding the footprint of it. And what they want to do is put in a car elevator second floor. They do high-end cars, and lots of people store them there. And that final thing to report is I want to thank everyone who attended and supported the concerts this summer. It was an incredible concert series. I think it's really one of the best, and I want to thank the Tenafly Presents Committee, who worked tirelessly to bring in groups. My heart stopped for a minute, and I was thinking about the GIF when one of the lead singer for one of the groups at the very last song stood with his, on the showmobile stage with his back to the crowd, and then did a backflip from there onto the roadway. All I could think of is our insurance won't cover that. But no, seriously, I encourage everyone to come out for these concerts. We had on average 300 to 400 people at most of our concerts. And that's not apply residents, because if you think about it, in a town of 15,500, that we're only getting 300 to 400 people for free concerts, quality acts, we should be embarrassed. But a lot of the people come from out of town, which means they're coming here, they're supporting our businesses. And we talk about, forward resident-facing things. This is very resident-facing. And the one guy who made the most money probably was, I think he did real well because the restaurant that's, well, the place that's closest, which I won't go into, was never open during concerts. But the acts were just phenomenal. And they were from all over, Connecticut, Florida, Ireland.
Yeah, so I think it's absolutely, I totally agree with you. This is pretty fair.
We overcharge, but that's okay.
For instance, at least I found surveys. Site, it's always my fault. There is possibly something that's driving, whether I'm just gonna make it up. That Tuesdays and Thursdays are my Pilates class or timing or patient. And I'm happy to help do it. Write 5 questions. I'm sure the sends out them on Friday. Go to the link, pitch you get literally 1,000 messages right off. Let's find out what it is, because you're absolutely right. It is great. It's a great thing. Let's find out what it is. Purple.
And we certainly remind them, we have flyers around, the mayor puts it in his messaging. We took out ads. Communication really on this is not the issue. I think it's one of our truly endemic problems about, we talk about, we want people to come downtown. People say they want to. But when it comes to time to act, people could respond in SurveyMonkey, but those will be excuses because we do 14 concerts or something like that over the summer. It'd be great, but 15,500 people, and I'll get rid of the 32% that are kids. So we'll take it to about 9,000 people. I would say about 250 of the people who come are regulars from town. We have about 100 who come regularly from out of Tenafly, including we had a guy who's run for, I think, better than theirs.
Maybe we should take the show on the road.
We should take it on the road. But it's frustrating because we do talk about in the committee, if restaurant partner, we promoted this year very specifically about support the restaurants, pick up a picnic dinner, bring your lawn chair. We did that consistently. That was my messaging from day one. And people were. The pizza places were doing great. Boxes, very consistently.
Maybe the businesses should be promoting themselves by saying, when you go to the concert, come with. No, I'm saying in their stores, say concerts on Tuesdays and Thursdays, come pick up a,
Okay, Lauren.
I just want to say thank you to Jeff and the committee. I also want to recognize that the charm of our summer concerts actually got us into travel and leisure towns, and was the fact that we provide these wonderful summer concerts.
And Northern Valley Press had a really nice article
They
over the
did.
summer.
They did. I'm lucky enough, I listened to them from my deck with my kids in our pajamas. They're fantastic. My neighbors actually do the same. A lot of us that are close to town.
So we don't get a count of everything.
So you don't get a count, that was my other point, is you don't get a count of everyone listening, but on our house on Tuesdays and Thursdays, to dance on your deck in pajamas to local music, it is very special.
Okay, what else do you have?
That's it.
Lauren.
Okay, big event that the mayor announced is tomorrow's welcoming committee. Any new residents? We will have the mayor and council, our borough administrator, our librarian, our recreation department, our police force, our fire chief. Hopefully everyone's making it. We do have our school side coming as well, our superintendent, our principals. For all new residents that are listening or that get this information, we hope you come out. The other event that I really do want to highlight is an outstanding event from our police department. That is Tenafly's Community Night. I hope everyone makes that. It's coming on September 13th. It is always a huge hit, I think, with our community. I think that does draw a huge number of people.
Oh, yeah, and Sessions, which was
Yeah.
rescheduled to that night from Arena.
That's right. So one of our summer concerts, a local band, will be playing. We will have food, local booths, local restaurants. So please come out. And I want to thank our police who will be working the event, giving out hot dogs like they always do. They do an outstanding job. And again, thank you. 5 to 8 p.m., September 13th. There is a rain date, but let's hope we don't need it. I want to talk about our Pride Committee for a second. I had sent in a survey about how well our town does for Pride in the various aspects, whether it's within our borough, within our schools, within our community. And we're just kind of middle line, which breaks my heart. We did not do that well on the survey, which is crazy because we were one of the first communities in Bergen to start a Pride Day. And so I do want a little bit more attention to figure out how to solve that. And maybe, Jimmy, you can help work with the Pride Committee, see where, I know you've been part of sending them information, see where we're falling short and how to fix it. So I'm hoping with the Pride Committee and working with our borough and our schools, we can find new ways to be more inclusive. The Tenafly Nature Center, again, we're doing a wonderful grant on invasive species. I want to thank Deborah Davidson and her staff for running an amazing nature center school all summer and for controlling our butterfly house. If you hadn't seen it, it was a wonderful exhibit. There will There's our wonderful aviaries. The Tenafly Nature Center is looking for more membership. The membership supports the restoration and preservation efforts. So anyone in the community who's not a member, please consider joining. There's a membership push. And then our senior services, I didn't really get to discuss this, but we have a new coordinator. Her name is Risa Levin. She's here. She's, I believe, next to Alicia's office. She is beginning to see families and residents again. If anybody needs support with senior services, please reach out. Risa is excellent. And she is off and running. Jimmy, you know this well, and we hope to make her welcome and we hope to keep her busy. So if any families needed, anyone you see as a neighbor that you're concerned about, please feel free to call. We do check. And we're also as well. That's everything.
Councilman Menon, thank you, Lauren.
No reports. We
You have nothing?
Nothing because the senior center took the summer off from their board meetings and the zoning board, the Board of Adjustment canceled the last meeting because of non-attendance, not enough.
Thank you. Councilman Michaels?
Super quick on recreation. Councilman Dayton spoke about community next week. Full signups, doing great. Back to pre-COVID levels, which is awesome. So much so that we had to add some new sessions. So please, if anybody is having any issues, please reach out to Jamie, but they're doing an amazing job in getting up to speed there. Also working on a number of items to upgrade tennis courts and get some field. So good stuff on recreation. Joint use, actually, Omar, if you could just follow up. I know we have a new school year. If we can get back on the calendar to get those joint use meetings scheduled. That would be awesome.
Thank you.
Mayor, sorry, I
Go ahead,
apologize. I
please.
got to add one item. At the next meeting, the recreation director will be presenting, just giving an update on the consolidation and with the youth center. Just to give an update and presentation on what's been happening since then, the vision and the futures. That'll be coming at the next meeting, September 20th. No problem.
Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor.
Yeah, so my update is with the Environmental Commission. We will be having a table at the community night, giving a lot of information about composting and possibly having a sign up there for anyone who's interested in a composting bin. It allows you to, sign up for it and then pick it up. There's a cost associated with the specific type of composting bin that you would be able to pick it up at the DPW at a later time. That's like a little project we're working on, but also just educating people about composting because it's a completely free activity as well. So we will be at the community night doing that. Also, a little bit of combination with my electric vehicle subcommittee. The Environmental Commission was very excited that we had the EV subcommittee has received word about a grant that we have received that would help with charging. And Jimmy is just waiting to get some details on that grant. It's going to be coming a little bit more information. And so those are the two things. And as I mentioned before, like I said, had trouble going around in that parking lot was what was mentioned. And I don't really know why, but that was just one of the discussions that came up when we're talking about the garbage ordinance. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to introduction of ordinances. We're going to start with 22-18, the non-represented salary ordinance. Councilman Park, would you like to make the motion on this one, please?
Once it loads. I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-18 and move this and set the hearing for September 20th, 2022 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
You have an edit to make?
Yes, I just wanted to let the council know there was it's been updated, but you haven't received it yet. I believe it is section 4. Can't find my notes at the moment, but it is the council salaries. There's a typo in that number. So it should be a 5, not a 3.
Got it.
Is it too late to ask for an explanation of just what changes there are?
No.
No, I mean.
Doesn't have to be included. Change it.
Well, this is an ordinance.
No,
What's your pleasure?
No, I mean, what has changed from the
Since the
previous?
prior?
Yeah.
So it's the adjustments for the salary amounts. It's not my item, so I'm sorry if I'm being vague, but it's to reflect a recent contract update to, with the back pay, the retros, what the percentages would be. As to specifics, I would have to defer to someone else.
Can we get that? Before the vote. Alicia, would you be able to come up and?
Yeah, come on, Alicia.
Just trying to.
Save that for second reading.
This is.
Okay, I mean.
This is the intro one. We'll save it for second.
I mean, we can do it in the second
Yeah.
reading. next
Right.
month, But, maybe we'll do that for the second.
Go ahead,
reading.
Alicia.
So it sounded like you said something about the mayor and council salaries. I didn't-
No.
Just in general, the ordinance, the purpose of passing the ordinance, I indicated that it was to coincide with.
Yes,
With
okay, so the
contractual change.
non-representative salary ordinance, we do not currently have a title called confidential assistant to the police chief. So we need to get that added to the non-representative salary ordinance, so they will follow the employee handbook. The salary range is the same that's in the OPIU contract. The salary range just transfer over to the new non-representative. The OPIU salary ordinance is to be included to eliminate that going forward because we will not have the current position.
Were there any other changes or that's?
To the salary ordinance.
Yeah, to.
To the non-representative, we added confidential assistant to the police chief. The borough administrative position title had to be updated to add, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher the name, MLU.
Yeah, municipal.
MLUO.
The end of the title because it's not currently listed as it is on the non-representative salary ordinance.
But the prior borough assistant was doing that, right?
The
MLUO.
current assistant, the current
It is-
executive assistant is doing that role right now.
Okay.
But when you look at the non-representative salary ordinance, it just says borough, assistant to borough administrator. It doesn't have the MLU on the end of it.
And that's it?
Does that make sense?
Those are the two changes?
To the non-representative salary, yes.
Well, I mean, to this ordinance, so.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And to the OPIU, it was the elimination of that current job, title and salary.
Okay, thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Omar, can you read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call, please?
Sure, Mayor. The title is, second. Ordinance number 22-18. It's an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly and the County of Bergen and State of New Jersey for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Conduct the roll.
I didn't get the second one.
Oh, second.
Okay. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Abstain.
Councilmember Menon,
Abstain.
Councilmember Michaels, Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, 22-19 DPW driver laborers. Councilman Grossman would like to make the motion. Please.
Sure. I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-19, set the hearing for September 20th, 2022 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, Omar, can you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-19, an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of the employees of the Department of Public Works represented by Local 342, Long Island Public Employees, United Marine Division, International Longshoremen Association, AFL-CIO, for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Second.
Sorry,
you already did.
already got it.
Apologies. I'm busy seconding.
Third.
Very excited.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, for my mayor's remarks, I'm going to talk about one thing. I want to thank Council President Grossman for all the work he and his team did on the summer concert series, notwithstanding all the positive comments we had a few minutes ago. I'm still going to say I thought that the attendance at the concerts was up significantly from last year. And the only time it was sad was when we had to cancel because of rain. And spent a lot of time looking at the weather on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But excellent job, Councilman, and looking forward to you organizing again next year in your team. So congratulations.
We had a lot of bands want to come back and a lot of people have already reached out. Let me see there.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Thank you. Okay, closed session, would you want to read the closed?
22-309, at a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on September 6, 2022. The Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters. Under personnel, there's a confidential personnel matter as well as potential litigation. And under collective bargaining, the DPW supervisors and the PBA contract. Released to the public at such time that the matter is resolved.
Have a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stepping 1, 2, where